have their policy is to commit genocide against the Palestinian civilians. They have a doctrine, the Dahia doctrine, named after the West Beirut suburb that they blew away in 2006 because Hezbollah kicked their butts on the battlefield. So they said, well, if we can't beat them militarily, we'll punish the civilians so much that they'll never allow Hezbollah to fight us again. How's that working out, Israel? But then they implemented that repeatedly against the Palestinians. And what we're seeing right now is basically Israel knows that it can't militarily defeat Hamas. I mean, I'm not on the battlefield, but I can just tell you that common sense dictates that when an opponent that is well prepared as Hamas was, and Larry pointed out, this attack on October 7th was one of the finest military raids conducted in modern history. The intelligence in preparation, the training, the tactics of Hamas were, impeccable. They had fantastic intelligence. They knew what they wanted to do. They know who they wanted to do it to, where they needed to go. They knew the timings, and they executed it. Then they came back. The reason why they took all those people hostage was to create bait. And then you create so that Israel now has to come into your battlefield. Now, if you took all the time and effort to plan this October 7th event, do you think that, and you were trying to lure Israel in, do you think maybe that you had prepared this trap, that you were anticipating what Israel could do? Of course they did. They knew that Israel was going to bomb the living crap out of the above ground. That's okay from Hamas perspective, because A, you create cities of rubble that now make it impossible for Israel to operate effectively. They should have learned that from, say, Stalingrad or, Monte Cassino. But below ground, you have 500 kilometers of tunnels that aren't just haphazard. These tunnels have been thought out in advance. Majority of these tunnels don't terminate on the surface. If you take a look at the Hezbollah videos, when their guys are emerging, you'll see that they've had to open up a thing and clear out about 6 to 8 feet of earth to get out of the tunnel. Why? Because the Israelis can't come in with some basic, ground penetrating radar and detect it. And what happens here when Israel clears out their berm area where their guys are sitting in the middle resting with alleged security around? Hamas pops up right in the middle of it. Okay, thank you very much. Bap, 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 bap. Back down. Then they blow the tunnel so that it doesn't connect with anything. Hamas has prepared this battlefield for a decade. They know exactly what to do. There's no way this Israeli conscript force. Larry, what's the average age of an American Marine major?
Probably 32.
Yeah, not 23 though.
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
So you got these Israeli majors, field grade officers, 23. What's the average age of, say, a staff sergeant?
Yeah, about 28, 29.
But not 19.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we got to understand is you have this army, this Israeli conscript army, that is putting people in command positions. Look, when I was a captain, I was a pretty good Marine. I'm not bragging, but I was okay. I was all right. But I have to tell you, every time somebody hit me with a problem, I went, Staff Sergeant, Gunny, come in here and educate the captain, please. And the only reason why I was really good is I had really good staff NCOs who backed me up, who kept me doing the right thing, who didn't hesitate to come in and say, Skipper, you don't want to do that. No, why not? Well, yeah, you're right. I don't want to do that. And things work. Now imagine a 19-year-old sergeant. A 19-year-old sergeant. That means he was conscripted at 18. He's gone through a year of training, and now he's a sergeant. And he's going to be advising his 23-year-old major about what? All the experience he has, all the extensive combat. The Israeli army is a joke. It is a literal joke. They're good at beating up 10-year-old boys. They're good at raping girls. They're good at murdering women, and that's all they're good at. They're not good at fighting. They're really not good at fighting. Russians who fought in Mariupol, fought in Bakhmut, are looking at the tactics that the Israelis are using in Gaza and saying they'd all die If you took those Israelis and put them in Bakhmut or Mariupol, they'd all die. Now, I know that they're not fighting, a large conventional army, but their tactics suck. They suck. And it's not just that they're bad soldiers. They're bad people. Now we come to what Larry talked about. The murder of those 3 Israelis proves that the Israeli army has shoot to kill orders. And you know what's interesting about that? It's a war crime, a literal war crime. You're not allowed to do this, but they do it. They have a doctrine called the gospel, or not a doctrine, but a plan called the gospel plan, the Hesbollah plan. It's AI generated. They've broken Gaza down into, target packages determined by a computer that says when you drop a bomb on here, this is how many civilians you kill. Why the hell do you need to know how many or predict how many civilians you kill? And then you drop the bomb anyways, because your whole purpose is to kill civilians. That's what the Israelis are doing right now. And here's the sickest part. Joe Biden has given them a green light to kill as many Palestinians as they can up until the end of the year. And that's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Not because Israel thinks they can defeat Hamas. They can't. They know Hamas is going to survive this conflict. What they're trying to do is terrorize the Palestinian people so much that when this is over, the Palestinian people will never let Hamas do an October 7th again. And it's going to backfire because the Palestinian people have rallied around Hamas like they've never rallied behind them before. If there was an election today in Palestine, Hamas would win across the board. 76% support right now. That's amazing. You can't destroy them militarily. Politically, you've empowered them, and the Palestinian people are behind them. This has backfired like you wouldn't believe on Israel. And Israel's suffering what I call a strategic defeat right now. And if they're not careful, the whole solution was always, the solution, the school book solution was always a 2-state solution. Everybody talked about 2-state solution. Oslo was premised on a 2-state solution. Well, Netanyahu has just admitted that he was never going to let that happen. He's been sabotaging it from day one. And the Israeli behavior right now, no one can ever trust Israel again. Israel has destroyed its reputation. It is a disgusting, despicable, genocidal regime that will never change. The day of Yitzhak Rabin is over. He was assassinated by a Netanyahu supporter, and Israel has fundamentally changed. I think Israel's talked itself into a 1-state solution, and it ain't the one that Israel thinks it wants to have. Because I honestly believe what Israel's done is guarantee that in a decade there won't be an Israel. There'll be a Palestine. Jews will be welcome to live in there. But you'll find that when the Palestinian state is created, that many of these Zionists will flee because they don't want to live in peace with Palestinians. They are what I call the Brooklyn Jew class. And I don't mean that there's nothing anti-Semitic in that. Brooklyn Jews, that's it, class of people who feel free to fly into Israel and go to the West Bank and murder people and steal their homes and steal their land. And when confronted about it, they say, that's what we get to do. The courts back us up. The soldiers are there. These are Americans who go to Israel to murder Palestinians and steal their land. They aren't going to stay in Israel. They're going to try and come back to America. I'd like to believe that we pass laws that say you're not welcome back here. You're on your own. But it's over for Israel. I think Israel has talked itself out of existence. That's the real implication of this fight.
If you went back to October 5th and you had done a survey of the Arab Muslim countries in the Middle East, you'd find that Hamas was not very popular in Egypt. Hamas was not popular, not much support in Saudi Arabia at all. Ditto for Jordan and for Turkey. What Israel has done in the last 3 months is they've turned Hamas into a sympathetic figure, or at least one that the Egyptians, the Saudis, the Jordanians, and the Turks have to pay attention to. If for no other reason, just to placate the guy in the street that's really upset by what they're seeing Israel do to the Palestinian civilians. So it has actually made Hamas stronger. That's the irony of this. It's made Hamas stronger, not weaker. And, Israel's got this in their mind. They think that they can always kill their way out of something. And it's like they decided, I think it wasn't Netanyahu just announced that maybe they were going to do like Munich 2. In the aftermath of the Munich Olympics, they sent out hit teams to kill all the perpetrators. Well, number one, it was basically a failure as a mission because they killed a waiter up in Norway who wasn't even involved, had nothing to do with it, and they didn't get them all. And when the operation was over, it didn't stop the terrorist attacks. So, I mean, the goal of using force is ultimately to stop the attack. I'm a firearms trainer, and I teach people you never draw your gun and point it at someone unless your life is in imminent danger. And then if you have to point your gun and fire, but make sure you stop the threat. Once the threat's over, gun back in the holster. Well, Israel's never learned that. This policy of killing civilians is it's going to cost them. It's bad when a friend of mine, she's Jewish, she's a daughter of a Holocaust survivor, and I was at her house 2 nights ago. They had sort of a holiday party, and she comes up to me and whispers, she goes, "I'm watching what's going on over there, and the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians what the Nazis did to my mother." It's bad when you got a Jewish lady who's a Holocaust survivor who's making that comparison.
Yeah. Well, if you could, and Scott, maybe I can have you come back in here, the ramifications of what Israel is doing has obviously spilled over well beyond the Gaza was called an enclave, but that part of Palestinian territory. And now there is increasing tensions around the Red Sea, with Yemen's Ansar Allah getting really deep in waging a blockade that's been pretty successful to this point in response to what's happening in Gaza. But of course, there's more with Hezbollah, and there have been, I feel like there's been more and more tensions regionally. And Israel is talking about trying to get the U.S. to help them push Hezbollah back along the border. Help us make sense of the regional ramifications and where this is going as we enter 2024.
Well, first of all, let's reflect back on Nasrallah's speech that he gave, I think, on October 9th, 2 days after. And I call it the escalation management speech. And because everybody's expecting Hezbollah to jump in and join the fight. And Hezbollah basically said, we're in, but our way. We're going to do it our way. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it that way, because how is Israel going to be strategically defeated here? Israel set the parameters of victory being the destruction of Hamas. I think Larry and I agree. Hamas is won. They're not going to be destroyed. So Israel's already lost this war. Plus, if you're Hezbollah, your goal is the creation of a Palestinian state. So you got to keep the whole world's focus on that problem set, and it's working against Israel. The whole world is rallied behind it. The last thing you want to do is expand this conflict, because now suddenly the Palestinian issue is not the only issue. In fact, it's going to be put on the back burner as you deal with bigger regional issues like war with Iran. That's a bigger problem set than the Palestinian issue. So you don't want to expand this conflict. So you've seen a lot of escalation management, but it's been done very cleverly. Hezbollah, for not wanting to get involved, has tied down one half of the Israeli Navy, 1/3 of the Israeli Air Force, 1/4 of the Israeli Army. They forced 70,000 people to be displaced out of northern Israel, putting a huge burden on the Israeli economy. And they're just humiliating the Israelis on a daily basis on the border. And here's the thing. You think Hamas has tunnels. Hezbollah has tunnels, better tunnels, deeper tunnels, longer tunnels. You know that tunnel that the Israelis dug up? It's amazing. Right at I think it's the Eretz crossing. And suddenly 400 meters from the crossing, how far along are we? 70 some odd days in this conflict. And they go, oh my God, the biggest tunnel imaginable that you can literally drive a car through is right here. Wait a minute. You guys didn't find that tunnel until now? That tunnel is small compared to the tunnels that Hezbollah has carved into northern Israel. When the time comes, Hezbollah will seize northern Israel. There's nothing the Israelis can do to stop it. They will take Kiryat Shimona. They will take other towns. They will take the Galilee. Israel can't stop them. But Hezbollah doesn't want to do that right now. Hezbollah has let it be known that they can do that, and they will do that if called upon. And this is why you're seeing Israel hesitate, because you've got all the chest thumping guys saying we need to go in and kick Hezbollah's butt. Israel proved that they can't kick Hezbollah's butt. They tried it in 2006, didn't work. Hezbollah has gotten even better. They've become combat hardened with a decade plus experience in Syria. So there's nothing the United States can do. What, you think American pilots and American airplanes dropping American bombs are going to do a better job than Israeli pilots and American airplanes dropping American bombs? No. First of all, our pilots aren't that good anymore. We just don't train that well. Training is expensive. When was the last time we did a real honest to God, air attack against somebody with an integrated air defense, or somebody has the potential of doing that?
Yeah.
Not in a long time. Our pilots don't know how to fight. And so we'd be going through a learning curve that'd be unreal. And then we'd get humiliated because it's not stopping anything. And you think Americans, when Hezbollah moves into northern Israel, you think Americans are going to drop bombs on Kiryat Shimona? You think Americans are going to drop bombs on Israel? Ain't going to happen. See, Hezbollah isn't going to sit in southern Lebanon and let the fight come to them. Hezbollah is going to take the fight to northern Israel. And now the Israelis are going to have to bomb their own cities, bomb their own people. America will stay out of that fight because we are not going to bomb Israel. Hezbollah's thinking. They know this. If I know this, Israel knows this. America knows this. That's why I'm not too worried about an expansion of the fight, because Israel knows they'll just get, I was going to use a bad word, they'll get beat up. Now we come to the Houthi. This is very rude of me, but every time when I think of the Houthi, I just think of some wild dudes from Mad Max, just yelling charge and go, because they just sort of on October 19th they just appeared. The Houthi just woke up and said, "Screw it, launch!" And everybody's like, "What the heck just happened?" The Houthi just fired on Israel. Did that really happen? Houthi, hell yeah, that happened. We're going to do it again. Launch, launch, launch. And then they say, "Screw it, take a ship, fly helicopters out there, take everybody's going, what the hell's going on? What are the Houthi doing?" And then the Houthi just say, "We're going to shut it all down." And they have. They've effectively closed I can't say the word, the Man El Bab Straits, that little narrow piece of water between Yemen and Djibouti. They've shut it down. The Red Sea, you can't go to the Suez Canal right now because the Houthi have shut it down. And now America's going, what do we do? So we're moving a fleet down and we're realizing we can't do anything. Now, the big news isn't that America can't beat the Houthi. I mean, we can't. And we're not going to. To secure those straits, we'd have to put 40,000 Marines on the ground. We don't have 40,000 Marines to put on the ground. We can't get 40,000 Marines there. And once we get them on the ground, we can't sustain it. There's 100,000 plus Houthi out there. We ain't going to beat them. Saudi Arabia's been trying since 2014 using American planes with American bombs, using American intelligence. Hasn't worked. The Houthi can destroy Saudi Arabia's oil production capacity. That's one big thing here that's causing everybody to hit pause on that. Saudi Arabia is like, you guys are going to do what to the Houthi? Pause, 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 please pause, because they're going to blow up the Aramco oil fields, and we don't want that to happen. The United Arab Emirates going, wait a minute, you're going to do what? No, we don't want to have anything with that either. Pause, 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 because they don't want to lose their oil production capacity either. So America's sitting there going, But here's the big story. It's not about that strait. You know how America has been saying for decades, we guarantee that the Strait of Hormuz will be open? That Iran will never shut it down. That if Iran ever tries to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, the American Fifth Fleet will keep it open. That's just been proven to be a lie.
Yeah.
Because we can't beat the Houthi, and we damn sure aren't going to beat the Iranians. What this proves is that America's fleet, all of its, dozen, aircraft carrier battle groups, can't do anything. Yeah. It's a waste of money, total waste of money. We have to be careful about getting sunk, losing a carrier. As Larry said, I'm an American taxpayer. Okay, so I got the USS Carney out there, the Aegis class, Arleigh Burke class destroyer. It's got 90 missiles, SM-2s, SM-6s, other things out there. And each one of them runs between $1.1 and $4 million each, depending on which missile you use. The Houthi have thousands of these drones and cheap missiles. They cost them $2,000, $5,000, maybe 10 grand for the good stuff. And the Houthis are just sitting there again. Oh, the guy from Mad Max, oh, and they're going to launch these things, and the Carney's going to go detected, launch, shot, detected, launch, shot, detected, and now they're done. They fired off 90. And as Larry said, they don't have the tenders anymore. You can't bring up the ship that goes resupply in. They got to pull the Carney out. And then who's going to replace the Carney? Some other funky named ship that's going to fire off 90 missiles and have to go, and another one and go. There's only so many, missile destroyers in a carrier battle group. And when they deplete this stuff, the carrier's got to go because it can't stay there. Something's going to hit the carrier. And now here's the other thing. What have the Ukrainians been using that's driving the Russians crazy in the Black Sea? The underwater drones. The underwater drones. Well, Russia captured some of them. And I don't know if you saw it, Larry, but Russia just published photographs saying, we've just produced our own underwater drone. And Russia has really good relationships with the Iranians. So I guarantee you that if Russia produced an underwater drone, the Iranians are producing an underwater drone. And if the Iranians produced it, the Houthi have it. And so we're going to be sitting there going, shoot down missile, shoot down missile, shoot down missile. Holy shit, bad word again. Got to watch out. Got 20 underwater drones coming at me. It's over, ladies and gentlemen. We lost a carrier. 5,000 Americans are dead. This is the reality of the carrier battle group. It's a legacy system going back to World War II that has no application in modern warfare whatsoever. America has been exposed as literally the empty shell that we are. It's not so much about the Red Sea. The Strait of Hormuz has just been guaranteed. We just lost the Strait of Hormuz because the whole idea of the Strait of Hormuz was the perception that America could do something. Well, that's been exposed as a lie. So the Iranians are empowered. The Saudis and the UAE is going, I think it's time we have to rethink our strategic relationships here because America can't defend anything. The whole aspect of what America was doing with power projection was the potential of action that creates deterrence. We don't have the potential of action. Where can we go, Larry? Where can we go? We can't go into Europe. We've proven that. Yeah, we can't defend the Red Sea against the Houthi. We think we want to hook and jab with the Chinese in the Pacific. Are we high? America's been exposed as a nation that spends $1 trillion a year on a military that can't do anything.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, again, I had not really focused on the capability of the destroyers, their limited capability. It had never entered my mind to explore the concept of a expeditionary navy vice a forward-based navy. I made some assumptions that were completely wrong. And once you wake up to it, and again, I hadn't even thought about the Strait of Hormuz until you pointed it out. You're absolutely right. The tactic is real simple. All any country has to do is assemble 300,000 drones capable of launching some sort of explosive device that can create damage on a maritime vessel, and then launch them in swarms. You're going to overwhelm the defense systems that the U.S. Navy has, and again, none of this is classified. It's all it's wide open, and then you can start sinking ships. Now, the Chinese. Everything the United States is doing out there off the coast of China is just ridiculous. The United States is trying to pick a fight that we can't even win. We can't even finish it. So, one of the articles I linked to into my piece was called "Rebalance the Fleet Toward Being a Truly Expeditionary Navy." That was eye-opening. And that was just published in September of 2023. So what we've got is the phrase I've used before. The United States has the most expensive military in the world. We've got one of the most expensive, least capable navies in the world. That's the shocker. And Scott, what do you think? Why do you think they're delaying? Yeah, I mean, at this point, Yemen has done everything that in normal times when we thought we had an expeditionary navy, we would have already launched. And we're not launching. Why do you think that is?
Well, first of all, because again, if you went in the ring with Mike Tyson,
Yeah.
all right,
I'd
you're
be
expecting
out of
that
breath from running.
when he hits you, you're expecting to die. So imagine you're going in the ring with Mike Tyson, and oh God, and he just lines up and he hits you, and it's nothing. You're like, what the hell? Hits you again, nothing.
Yeah.
You hit him, he's hurting. You're like, I got this. See, America's Mike Tyson, but without the punch.
Yeah.
We've all hyped up. I likened it earlier. When I played football in college, all the linemen, I was a tight end, but I was originally a wide receiver, so I was a very small tight end. All the linemen, go in there and they bench press, and they all got the 300-pound club, the 350-pound club, the 400-pound club in terms of their bench press. I never got above 2 1/4, so I didn't earn any of the big T-shirts. But they're all out there. But it's like a guy that in college, is pumping up. He's got the 400-pound club, and now he comes back to the 10-year reunion, and he's got the 400-pound club T-shirt on there, and he's bringing people into the gym, and he's like, everybody's expecting him to lift 400 pounds, and he gets up to 250, and then he stops, and then he starts talking and drinking water. You're like, well, where's 400? Can't do it anymore. That's America.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at expecting the 400-pound club, and you got a guy that can't bench 2 1/4 anymore. That's America. We don't want to act, because the second we act, we're exposed as a fraud, and all that deterrence goes away. Again, coming back to what Tony Blinken said, we have to deal with China from a position of strength. He just said that. But a position of strength means that we have to have the perception of capability. If we expose the fraud that we are with the Houthie, because Larry, again, mobile relocatable targets. That's a fancy way of saying mobile missiles. I did that during the Gulf War. That was my thing. Hunting scuds. We didn't kill a single one. Didn't know how to do it. And we haven't gotten any better. And so we're going to engage now in a very expensive air campaign against the Houthie, and we're not going to kill anything. They're going to keep launching, and it just exposes us as a fraud. And the whole idea of this potential is to intimidate the Iranians into saying, don't begin with us because you think you have mobile missiles, but we have the American Navy that's very good at hunting. Oh, wait a minute. We just couldn't even deal with the Houthie. So I don't think we want to pull this trigger, because the moment we pull the trigger, any pretense of American capability is gone. Yeah. The other thing is, this coalition we've assembled ain't much of a coalition. It will fall apart instantaneously. And then the most important thing is, what happens when the Houthi take out the Saudi oil fields? We don't have an answer to that. So I think, we've done a lot of bluffing. The smart thing for the United States at this point in time would be literally, look, we made a decision. We're going to let the Israelis kill as many Palestinians as possible. So the smart thing to do is just tell Israel, suck it up for a couple of weeks, kill as many Palestinians as you want to, and then come January, you got to let the humanitarian goods, because all the Houthis say is, we'll stop the moment you let humanitarian goods come into Gaza. Mm-hmm. Stop the killing, let the humanitarian goods in, and we will open this baby up. But what we're going to do now is empower the Houthi to come up with different terms, because now the Houthi look around saying, wait a minute, we could ask for more. It's like doing one of those business negotiations, and you find out that, you low bid and you could have gone for more. The Houthi are finding out that they have more leverage than they possibly, and they're still backed by the Iranians now, who are going to be empowered. This is a game. I use that term all the time. It gets me in trouble, but it's a game-changing thing that's going on right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, and look, the other day, the Houthis, they shot down a Reaper drone, a $30 million ISR platform. And I'd love to know what they shot it down with, how much money they actually invested to shoot down a $30 million drone, but I'll be willing to bet it was less than $500,000, which that's a pretty good return on investment. Yeah. And, I think that has to also be weighing on the military planners' minds that as Scott noted, one, we don't have the staying power. Two, when we have to pull out, it's going to make us look weak. Three, we're not even sure we can put ISR safely up in the area to find out where they're located, so we know what we're shooting. So it's not an easy task, and these these damn Houthis, boy, they just won't cooperate. They won't put together fixed military bases that we can easily target. How dare they? Don't they know about that international based rules order? They're ignoring the memo.
Right, right. Uh, with Operation Prosperity Guardian, as the United States is calling it, Scott and Larry, I think you're alluding to and directly stating this point altogether, that the U.S. military is pretty hollowed out. It's the bark, no bite. But at the same time, this is quite the bark. This is a coalition of the willing. Last time that happened in this particular conflict, it was a Saudi-led U.S. from the rear coalition that did wage a pretty disastrous and very just genocidal hell on Yemen. That's not happening right now. And you're saying that it's probably not, there's probably not going to be a major strike. So why then even form this coalition, and what will happen? Because can it just sit and play at war like they do in the South China Sea, for example? Is that what's going to happen? I mean, it does baffle my mind a bit that all of this trouble is being spent on something that has absolutely no bite.
Well, look at what they sent. Canada's contribution, 3 staff officers. Britain, they've sent a ship that hasn't been able to get out of dry dock. And they're really worried that it's going to break down while it's out there in the Red Sea, and they're going to be spinning around in a circle, not able to do anything. This thing's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah. Again, that we just come down to, I'm going to huff and I'm going to puff and I'm going to blow your house down. But we can't blow anything down, and we're huffing and puffing. And if you're going to say you have a capability, you should be prepared to do it. You should be prepared to follow through. The United States, I think, look, politics is a funny thing too. And Biden, somebody may make the decision to initiate a bombing campaign just because we have to do something, but it will be disaster because we can't sustain. It's very expensive to bomb. I just want people to understand that, sorting out the number of aircraft that we're going to have to sort out with sustained sorties, the fuel, the wear and tear on the aircraft, the bombs, keeping that air carrier in play, shooting down all the Houthi drones are going to be coming at them. We're going to bankrupt ourselves, and we can't keep that force in play. Hopefully, we don't lose anything, but the real thing is that we're going to find out. The Houthi will find out that we can't beat them. And then the world realizes they can't beat them. This is why I think they probably won't do it. But politics is strange. We are entering the really silly season of American politics right now. And Joe Biden's sort of in a desperate, he lost Afghanistan. He's lost Ukraine. He's losing Israel. Now you got the Houthi, which means you're going to lose Iran, which means, and China's watching this too. Basically, what we're doing in Israel is, and what we've done with Ukraine is, in a very short period of time, we've gone from the world's preeminent superpower to the laughing joke. That doesn't mean we can't kill people. Of course we can kill people. We can kill a lot of people, but we can't win. And that's the thing. We can't close the deal anymore. Yeah.
Can you imagine being a Chinese intelligence analyst in February of 2022? And you were asked to assess the ability of the United States to produce and supply 155 millimeter artillery shells. I suspect that Chinese analyst, or the Russian analyst for that matter, would have projected a far greater capability with respect to what the United States could do. And that would have created some caution. And now, once they've seen with their own eyes that the United States can't do it, we can produce maybe in 1 year what Ukraine would fire in 1 month. And so all of a sudden these countries, Scott, it was a great analogy that we had built ourselves up like the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. And it turns out we're just a short little fat guy behind a curtain. that a lot of the stuff we claim we can do, we can't do. And then the real sort of audacity is we've got U.S. military planners instructing the Ukrainians on how to fight a peer-to-peer war. Now, that's like going to some guy to learn how to shoot a rifle, and the guy's never shot a rifle. So you don't want to take rifle shooting instruction from somebody that's never shot a rifle. And, the reality is there's nobody in the world that's fought a peer-to-peer battle except for Russia now. And they've got ample experience doing it. And because when you read back one of the postmortems that the Washington Post did on why the counteroffensive failed, I was stunned that when they did the exercises beforehand, they did war gaming, tabletops. They left out the assumption about, well, you don't need fixed wing aircraft to provide close air support. And you don't need that rotary wing aircraft either that can also provide close air support as well as evacuate wounded for the battlefield. We'll just take those out of there. Hello? I mean, that's like saying, yeah, I'm going to go drive the car on the freeway, only I'm going to put on a blindfold, see how I do. You're going to crash. So, I mean, it's just, this is what the failure of the U.S. military across the board, it's not just one thing. It's a layered problem.
Yeah. No, it is. See, we got a visitor. No, it is. And maybe to close, I've kept you almost for 2 hours now. So maybe to close, any final thoughts we can begin with Scott on prospects geopolitically, 2024. Where are things headed? Where is the U.S., I guess we call U.S. NATO axis? Where is it headed? And where is the rest of the world headed? What can we expect? Huge question, but just want to kick it to you, Scott, to close, and then Larry, final word.
Well, I think you're going to see that the United States is, Larry talked about the rapid, can't remember, the devolution of Ukraine. I think we're going to see the rapid devolution of the United States, because again, how quick, Larry brought up a wonderful analogy, the Wizard of Oz. I just watched it again because, it's that time of the year. But at the beginning, the wizard is everything. The wizard, you're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And when they first see him, I'm the great and powerful wizard. And then suddenly the devolution of the wizard, all you had to do is have Toto come in and pull the curtain back, and you realize that all of that was fake. None of it was real. Toto's done pull the curtain back. The world's seen how fake America is. I don't think we have gotten this far because we've been bad for a long time. We've been rotting from the inside, but we've gotten this far based upon reputation, and arrogance, and people have been buying into the bluff. The bluff's been called by the Houthie. The bluff's been called by everybody, Russia. So I think the world is going to go through a very rapid transition. Russia's in charge of BRICS this year. This ain't going to be passive. I mean, China had BRICS, and they were very good, but there was only a limited. At that time, you still believed in America's potential. I think America is going to not collapse, but we are going to be de-emphasized on the world stage. The world's tired of us. Israel broke our moral authority. Ukraine broke our military potential. We're going to have to redefine ourselves, and this may take decades. But in the meantime, Russia has redefined itself. China, we haven't talked about China. China is sitting there like this huge economic engine that we don't appreciate. Just like we don't appreciate the size of Russia and the potential of Russia, China's big, man. China's got a lot of capabilities. I think 2024 is going to be the year of that America devolves. politically, I think the 2024 election is going to be an absolute disaster and for American democracy, but also geopolitically, I think the world's going to realize that America just doesn't matter anymore. And I mean, the whole world's going to realize this quickly. What happens when the South Koreans and the Japanese realize that America's nothing?